Hi, how you doing? My name is Danny Colville from Colville Outfitters and Custom Tackle. I've had a lot of questions about the new Steelhead Stalker soft plastic beads, and I just want to take some time to go over it and show you guys how to rig them. Show you a couple different rigs that work really well locally and on the West Coast. And figured we could go over some different scents and the different types of lines and fluorocarbons and hooks I like to use. So I'll first get started with showing you how to rig the hard plastic bead on the fluorocarbon. My fluorocarbon choice is typically blood run fluorocarbon. I like it due to its flexibility, its abrasion resistance, and the bait movement you get in the water. It's the best stuff on the market currently. These are the soft plastic beads made by Steelhead Stalkers. They're all UV. They're squishy. Fish really hold on to them for a long time. They're about the best product on the market currently besides fishing fresh eggs. They come in 8s and 10. They come in 10s and 12s. Another manufacturer is Lickum Lures, who makes the 8s, and you rig them the same way. So I'm going to start off by rigging a 12mm amber roe, which has been probably the best color that I've had locally in the Great Lakes. It's the most similar to a steelhead or a salmon egg that we have in the Great Lakes color-wise. If you're fishing on the West Coast, I know the salmon, they obviously eat a lot more shrimp and octopus and stuff like that, so their eggs come out a lot more orange than the eggs here. These sometimes also will look like our steelhead eggs that we get in the springtime, so this color also works really well. The other reason I like these beads a lot is because you can change out the color without actually cutting your fluorocarbon and repegging them, unlike traditional hard plastic beads. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to take my blood run fluorocarbon. I always like to start off with about an arm length worth. I don't recommend cutting it with your teeth, but that's what I do. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a, depending on what kind of knot I'm going to tie, that's going to depend on what kind of hook I'm going to use. So I'm using a straight eye wide gap hook, which is made by Adya. Gamakatsu also makes a great hook. It's a steel bug hook, it's called, and they have a wide gap. They're chemically sharpened, and they're not so heavy that they weight down the bead. The one thing I do want to add too is all of the UV Steelhead Stalker beads are all sinking, so they sink naturally just like a real egg. A lot of the old Jensen eggs and the other previously made plastic eggs all floated, which made float fishing with them very difficult. So the first thing I'm going to do, like I said, is I'm going to take the small little glass or plastic beads that they come with, and I'm going to rig that on my fluorocarbon. I know a lot of guys too, what they do is they'll rig these up ahead of time and have these all tied on their fluorocarbon. This way they don't have to mess around with a really tiny bead in cold weather on the side of the bank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that bead through the fluorocarbon one time. I'm going to come back through again a second time. And then I'm going to come back through one more time. So 3 total times I'm wrapping this small bead through my fluorocarbon. Talking to Chad at Steelhead Stalkers, he's told me he's wrapped them up to 10 times. So you could pretty much do as much as you want. I found that 3 wraps allows you to be able to adjust the bead up and down your fluorocarbon without messing your fluorocarbon up too much. Now one thing I want to say is that when you wrap it 3 times, don't cinch it down really tight, because then you're not going to be able to slide the bead up and down, and then when you want to be an inch or two away from your hook, it's going to be really difficult to do that. If you cinch this down, you're going to get like a curly Q type effect on your fluorocarbon. So now that I have my small little plastic bead pegged, I'm going to tie on my straight-eyed hook, and with a straight-eyed hook, pretty much the knots you want to use are an advanced clinch knot, a regular clinch knot, or a Palomar knot. The reason I like the clinch knot so much is because you can use more wraps up near the swivel and less wraps up near the hook, making the hook the breaking point. So for example, what I mean by that is if you want the stronger breaking point to be at your swivel, you wrap it 10 times. If you want it to break at your hook, you only do 7 wraps instead. So I'm going to spin this around 7 times. This is going to be, like I said, the advanced clinch knot. So I'm going to bring it through the very bottom by the hook eye, and then I'm going to bring it back up through the loop that I made. So it's a basic fisherman's knot. Everybody pretty much knows how to do that. So we're using fluorocarbon here, and fluorocarbon is could get really messed up from heat. So what you want to make sure is you want to use a little bit of spit or water or whatever to make sure that you slide the knot together. As you're sliding the knot together, kind of hold the tag end and pull it down so all your loops get really nice, and I'm sorry, not loops, but all your wraps come together really nice, and you don't have any that jumped over top of each other. Once you have that, trim your tag end. And then we're a little bit too long for the bead, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually adjust this small bead to come a little bit closer to the hook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push on the fluorocarbon, loosening it up a little bit, and then I'm going to slide my bead down just a little bit closer to the hook. So now that's where I'm at. It's about 2 finger lengths away is where I want to be. So that's going to be our peg and our blood dot. And then all you do, real simply, you take your soft plastic egg, try to get it as center hooked as possible. Hook it, slide it up, and then just bring your soft plastic bead right over top. And then what you get is a beautiful blood dot egg that sinks and fishes just like a real single egg. Really tough to beat that presentation. And what's also nice too about these soft plastic eggs is traditionally the hard plastic eggs is when they're pegged, what ends up happening is they slide down to the hook and creates like a shim effect where it actually pushes the hook out of the fish's mouth. Because these are so spongy, what ends up happening is they actually work with you where you're able to have a little bit more play in the fish's mouth, or if you're lucky enough to have this bead tear right off, and then you're just connected to just the hook in the fish's mouth rather than a bead pushing at the top of the hook. So really effective way. The other thing too is you could use your favorite scents. One of my favorite scents is Smelly Jelly. You could put that on it. There's Liquid Krill, which is pretty amazing. Mike's makes a bunch of good scents. You could use any scent you want, and it will just add to the effectiveness of this product.